This amazing video is brought to you by the #1 website builder, Squarespace. When people tune in to listen to someone talk about movies on the YouTubes, so often they only want to know one of two things. Was it perfect or was it a disaster? And that's it. No more. No grey area. And if they agree with you, all the better. Sometimes that's easy. Sometimes not so much. This is where 28 years later causes a problem.
Remember death.
Now, no film is 100% perfect. It's the nature of the medium. Some shortcuts have to be made to get the story up on the screen and told within a couple of hours. I always like to think of movies like a house of cards, where each little problem is like a few cards falling away. Not too many problems, and the house will still be standing in the end. Lots of little problems adding up, or a couple of large problems, and the card house comes crashing down. As an example, The Godfather, which is regarded as one of, if not the greatest film of all time, has one of the worst fight scenes you will ever see. Punches clearly missing their target by a mile. Yeah, that's a couple of cards lost off the Godfather house, but they're the only cards that this film loses. So in the end, the Godfather house looks magnificent, and it doesn't even miss those couple of cards that fell away. Down the other end of the scale, we have a film like The Last Jedi that started losing cards from the beginning, with one of its biggest hits just 10 minutes in. By the time we got to Mary Poppins Leia and the Holdo maneuver, the card house had collapsed, been set on fire and urinated on. So what about 28 years later? The zombie movie. Does its metaphorical card house still stand in the end? Well, it starts off strong. The first act is very good. It looks stunning. The cast is fantastic. Special mention to the young boy who was our lead, Spike. He's phenomenal. And the story setup was looking promising. The film starts with our lead, a 12-year-old boy, being taken out of the safety of the village to go get his first zombie kill with his father. We also meet the boy's mother, who is very ill and seems to be losing her mind. The village is set on a small island that is connected to the mainland by a causeway that can only be crossed at low tide. Now, the first infected that our boy Spike and his father come across is a new type of zombie for this franchise. The slug worm-eating zombie that crawls slowly across the ground. There seems to be a male zombie, a female zombie, and what looks like a child slug zombie. Yes, a child. A child that they let go. The idea of zombie children and babies raises a lot of questions in this film, but I will be coming back to that. They also come across some of the fast zombies we know, and a larger alpha zombie who can apparently control the fast zombies. So far, and the card house is looking pretty good. As long as you push down any thoughts about the setup of the UK quarantine and how that would exactly work. But I'll get back to that as well. There is one glaring problem that hits you in the face in the first act, and it's a big one that knocks quite a few cards off the house. The awful freeze frame spin around kill shots. What year is this? Wasn't this popular like a decade or two ago? Now, I already have a pet hate for blood splatter on the lens shots. I don't know why you'd want your audience to be reminded that there is a camera between them and the story. Good immersion into a story is one of the hardest things to achieve. So why use an effect that breaks that? I mean, you may as well have a boom mic in shot. Oh, fuck it. Just have the whole sound guy in shot. It's the same thing. Now, maybe in a film like Deadpool that breaks the fourth wall constantly, it's acceptable.
I know, right?
But in a scene that is meant to be conveying a stressful, tense moment, it felt ridiculous. Fast-paced scenes where the tension is built on the frantic nature of the zombies should not be all of a sudden frozen for a video game kill, but this is only the first in many bizarre choices. Just as jarring was the sliced-in clips from other films, the British of yesteryear fighting with bow and arrows. This at first felt very Danny Ball, but the more it happened, the more you felt like it wasn't going anywhere. And then it just vanished altogether. This idea that seemed interesting at the start just disappears in the second half of the movie. This is one of the problems with this film. Good concepts with bad setups and unfulfilled execution. And that's what makes talking about this film difficult, because each individual idea is good on its own. They just don't all work together, and some should be in a completely different film, which is a shame because normally we are complaining about films not having enough original ideas. Here we have too many ideas trying to cram into one film.
You know, I feel he's a bit young.
He's ready, Jenny.
7, 6, 11.
Bingo!
So the first act sets up the family, the town and the mainland. It also gives us a shit ton of questions, most of which you feel will never be answered. Like, how have the zombies survived for over 20 years? The first film explained that they would starve out within weeks. This film shows that they have evolved into eating animals and worms. How did they evolve that quickly in what would have had to be in only weeks? Why have some evolved, or should we say devolved, into slug zombies crawling across the ground, which are easy to kill? They're like practice kill shots, like in a video game. At least we get a bit of explanation explanation for the alpha zombies. Apparently the virus worked like steroids on them. Now, I've always heard in the past that steroids shrunk your junk. This virus definitely doesn't do that. One of the alpha zombies has a hog on him like a human arm, and not like a little Asian lady's arm, a big old Jim Bro's arm. The main fear of that dude running towards you wouldn't be him eating you, it would be what's he going to do with that big swinging weapon. Now, the idea of the different zombies, and yes, I'm calling them zombies because this film does, the different zombies on their own aren't a bad idea, but when combined with the freeze frame headshots and little explanation about how they came to be, it did start feeling a little too video game inspired, which is a shame in a series that revived the zombie genre and gave us the fast zombies. Then we head into Act 2, and a different story starts that makes me question if it was the film changing tone, or if it was my fault for watching the first act incorrectly. All of a sudden the film got a lot more stupid, and the plot armor got a lot more powerful, so much so that any fear we have for Spike surviving just evaporates for the rest of the film. Dad has been ditched, and Spike is taking his mother to see the only doctor that anyone knows of, a doctor that has presumably gone mad from his time in Nam. We meet a sailor, new to the quarantine zone, and the only survivor of a sinking patrol boat. Okay, the film really wants him to be a soldier, but patrol boats aren't manned by soldiers, so he's a sailor. When we first meet him, he is still with his fellow naval personnel, who are in full combat gear, guns, helmets, ammo, the works, which is questionable. We are told that the enlisted men were working on a patrol boat when it hit something and sank. It's all a bit vague. I'm guessing a patrol boat that's guarding the world from a human wiping out virus would be quite large, something like an aircraft carrier. So whatever that boat hit must be significant. Do we get to see any of this? No. How seriously the outside world is taking this is never really established, but from what we see, the world isn't taking it very serious at all. So I'm guessing the Navy personnel were on a smaller boat, but why are they fully kitted out for battle? Their boat sank, and before another patrol boat could pick them up, they made it to a life raft that floated to shore. Did they get fully kitted out for battle before getting into the life raft? I suppose that's plausible, but in a fictional story you need more than plausible for it to feel legitimate, interesting and connected. The sailors being so uniform in their overly prepared appearance makes the sinking boat story feel like an afterthought. The sailors appear out of nowhere, are useless and die. We are halfway through a movie and we get to watch a bunch of people die that we know absolutely nothing about. An action scene just for action's sake. Again, like a video game. How thrilling. Every kill means absolutely nothing. No tension, no investment. And the whole scene could be removed and it wouldn't affect the story at all, because when our sole survivor does meet up with Spike and his mother, we just get an exposition dump from the sailor about how he ended up there. You know, why show us when you can just tell us? But that's jumping ahead of their meeting, which is quite the Deus Ex Machina.
And don't you dare bring in a Deus Ex Machina.
Is a storytelling technique where a character's conflict is solved by the sudden appearance of a new character or an implausible event.
Our mother and son enter a petrol station / restaurant, I think, that is full of gas, followed by a bunch of zombies. The chances of escape look impossible. In short, they are fucked. Then out of nowhere, our sailor lifts a hatch on the roof and starts firing, which blows the absolute shit out of the building, killing all the zombies, but not harming the mother and son at all. Very convenient. Now, why the explosion itself is bordering on ridiculous. Well, hang on, it's not bordering on it. It was ridiculous. What was worse was the convenience of the complete stranger who had just arrived on the mainland that day, the first outsider in 20 years as far as we know, and he is on the roof of this building. It's especially amazing seeing as just 10 seconds before we see him lift the hatch, we have an overhead shot showing that no one is on the roof. For fuck's sake, film. Now I know we have to have little cheats to make the scary bits work, like zombies appearing to be very close to our leads, and then in the next shot, they're all of a sudden much further away. That's how a lot of horror has worked for the last 40 years.
Right.
But that's the problem. This film is full of old tricks that have been used to death in much crappier films. Not films with such a strong start that we've been waiting 18 bloody years for. After magically appearing out of nowhere to rescue our mother and son with a perfect sized explosion that only took out the zombies, our soldier shows Spike a photo of his fiancée on his phone. A light-hearted moment that shows that the world has moved on, face fillers and all. And poor Spike, who's never seen a phone in his life, has no idea what the rest of the world looks like. This is when, if you want your 28 years later House of Cards to stay standing, this is when you have to push down all the thoughts about how the hell would the world just sit by and let a planet-spreading virus just sit off the coast of France. But hold on, we have to have a quick break to thank the channel's biggest supporter, Squarespace, the only choice in website design when you want to get yourself or your ideas out to the world. Do you have a job you hate? Frustrated that your talents or products aren't getting seen by the world? Well, you can change all that today by getting a professionally designed website from Squarespace. Don't waste your life working to make someone else rich. Make your dream life a reality by letting Squarespace help you get your ideas out to the world. And it couldn't be easier or quicker as Squarespace has introduced Design Intelligence, a cutting-edge AI technology that empowers anyone to build a beautiful, more personalized website tailored to their unique needs. Head over to squarespace.com and sign up for a free trial. Choose one of their professionally designed templates, then make it your own with the ease of drag and drop designing using their amazing custom tool Fluid Engine. You can add photo galleries, portfolios, and video backgrounds. If you have a cool product to sell, easily set up a store to sell directly to your customers. And if digital content is your thing, Squarespace websites now have a members area where you can monetize your content right on your own website. So no greedy middleman taking a chunk of your profits. Squarespace also provides secure payments and client invoicing, so you can run your whole business straight from your website. And if you want to teach a course, Squarespace lets you set up online courses with multimedia lessons, progress tracking, and flexible pricing. Once your courses are set up, you'll be earning money 24/7. Who doesn't want to make passive income while lounging next to the pool? Head over to squarespace.com/robothead and try Squarespace today for free. And then when you are ready to take off, use the code ROBOTHEAD and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. Use the link below. Life is short. Make it exciting with Squarespace.
Next, we'll hear the story of 10-year-old Enrique Ramirez, who fought off the reanimated corpses of his entire family.
It's impossible to believe that after 28 years, the world wouldn't have either saved the survivors or cleansed the island of the infected. At a minimum, they would have at least carpet-bombed the UK to stop the threat spreading to the rest of the world. The chances of the virus leaving the UK are very, very high. In one of the most memorable scenes in the first movie, 28 Days Later, we saw how easily the virus was transmitted when a bird dropped a single drop of blood into the eye of a person. Within seconds, that person was a zombie. The zombies in the quarantine zone are ripping people and animals apart constantly. We even see a bird picking at an infected person's open wound. Many, many birds migrate between the UK and France every year. And it's not just France, they migrate right across Europe. The chances of a bird carrying the virus out of the UK would be way too high for the rest of the world to ignore. And besides that, why isn't anyone trying to leave the quarantine zone? The UK is a big place with thousands of boats. Why not just try and leave?
We're going to drive across the ruined city through a welcome committee of a few 100,000 dead cannibals, all so that we can sail off into the sunset on this fucking asshole's boat?
Surely that's better than living in the fear of being ripped apart every day.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I'm in.
Yes, I know that they showed that the waters are patrolled, but could we have a bit more information about why these people have just settled for their fate? Give us an explanation as to why the rest of the world is happy to never eradicate this virus. An explanation as to why these people are happy to comply with the quarantine. Explain some of it, or don't set it nearly 3 decades after the outbreak, because there is no fucking way this would be allowed to go on for 28 years. If it was set 28 months after the initial outbreak, the quarantine zone and patrolling the waters could have made sense as a first step before the world worked out what to do. But 28 years later, there's no chance they'd let the UK go like this.
The U.S. Army is responsible for your safety.
Anyway, next we have the mother help deliver a zombie baby. Yes, that happened. The mother zombie even turned off the rage virus long enough to deliver the baby. She does return to raging out pretty quickly, so our sailor friend blasts the absolute shit out of her. And not one drop of blood goes on the mother and son, even though they were right in front of her. Back to our friend with the drop of blood in 28 Days Later. One of the best parts of that film is the sadness and horror at seeing how contagious the virus is.
Dad, are you alright?
Yeah, I'm fine, sweetheart.
One drop of blood in an open wound or orifice, isn't that a fun word? Orifice. One drop of blood and the person is toast. In this film, this guy unloads a gun into this bitch 1 foot away from the mother and son, and by a miracle, no blood lands on either of them. Now, I understand the blood has to enter the body, but at least use the moment to have our characters panic that the blood has hit them, because it'd be nice to have some consistency with the rules. But the zombie idea has really been thrown out the window in this film. See, the best part about the zombie trope is that anyone, friend, loved one, family, can be turned at any moment. The fear of knowing that even if you fight one off and kill them, you cannot let them bite you. Because at any moment, anyone can become a zombie. A zombie you may have to kill.
Hey, sweetheart, you have my permission. I ever turn into one of those things? Do me a favor, blow my fucking head off.
Oh, yeah, you can count on that.
The tough decision to kill a family member or acquaintance is what is at the heart of the zombie story.
It's been a funny sort of day, hasn't it?
Oh no, 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 come on, stop it, stop
This film never gives us that feeling. There is never a fear that someone we like will be turned or even die. In fact, besides the soldiers we don't know, and the one we know for 5 minutes, no one that we care about dies at the hands of a zombie or gets converted to a zombie. Not one. The only person we have any investment in that dies is the mother, and that has nothing to do with the zombies or the virus. A lot of what makes zombie movies interesting and fun is removed from this film. Even the zombies themselves feel more like the orcs out of Lord of the Rings than they do actual zombies, because it's impossible to fear that any character will be turned into a zombie when Captain Big Dick here is just running around ripping heads off. Just to explain, at one stage, Alpha Hog Dick here pulls our soldier up onto the roof of a train and kills him off camera. He then drops his head and spine back into the train. Okay, that's fine, but it would have been way scarier and a lot more zombie-like if instead of dropping the lifeless head back down, he dropped the rage version of our soldier, dropped all of him down to attack Spike and his mum, like his own little attack dog, thrown down to kill everyone, just like how he sent the fast zombies after our dad and son earlier in the film.
Go back to the trees.
Oh, and I should have mentioned, the zombie gave birth to a healthy baby with no infection. There is no way in hell the healthy humans in this world would let that baby live for 5 seconds. They would have killed that thing while it was still hanging out of its mother. This is only made worse when, in the end, the secure village accepts the baby in, knowing it came out of a zombie, and also having no idea whether it carries the virus. This all leads to so many questions. Are the zombies having babies? If no, how are they surviving so long? Are they still converting people? It would be nice to see that, because we don't get a sense of how many people survived in the UK. If they are having babies, how the fuck does that work? Who feeds the baby? And more importantly, how does the baby not get ripped apart while coming through the meat curtains? Now, I am guessing that the woman was pregnant before becoming a zombie. It's the only thing that makes sense. But the film really plays with the idea that zombie John Holmes could be the father, a father wanting his baby back. He is there for the birth, he reacts to the zombie mother's death, he even tracks them down a day later in some type of revenge rage. Man, this film's house of cards is so close to collapsing. We then meet the doctor they've been looking for. Ralph Fiennes doing an amazing job of playing Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. And there's a feeling we have just entered the 3rd different film since starting this movie. A more surreal dream state film where we find out that the mother, well, she's dying from cancer. Mum decides to end it all with the help of the doctor. And she decides to do it straight away. This seems very rushed and quite cruel to Spike, because couldn't he have had one last day, an evening? Fuck me. One last conversation between Spike and his mother would have given the closure to this arc that was needed. But no, this mother whose whole world is Spike agrees to drug him so he can't react or interfere with her death. Spike, who has nothing else, this is the only person in the world he thought he could trust. Why can't she spend a couple of hours talking to him about what is going to happen and how he should live his life? What a bitch. Now, this is going to sound strange after I've said all that, but I liked nearly everything they did in this part of the film. It's just that it didn't fit with everything else we'd seen up to this point. It jumped so quickly, it felt like we completely jumped a scene. It also felt like we were now in a completely different film. The next day, after avoiding being killed by the big dick rage-filled zombie, and the doctor ignoring a second chance to kill the big dick fella, Spike heads home with the baby, only to leave it at the gates of the village so he can return solo to the mainland. How the hell did Spike get to the gates unnoticed in the middle of the day with a crying baby? The film sets up the importance of always having a guard on the gates looking out across the very long and straight causeway back to the mainland, especially in low tide. They show the importance of this several times. Yet, for the script convenience, Spike can walk a friggin' mile in a direct line on a clear day with a crying baby no less, and no one, not a single soul sees him. All the way there and all the way back again to the mainland. Get fucked, film. You set up that would be impossible. All they had to do was think of a different way for Spike to deliver the baby. They just need a part of the island that nobody watches because it faces out to sea. Spike could take a boat and sneak the baby to shore and no one would know. Maybe Spike could then sneak up to his house and watch his dad for a minute and then still decide to return to the mainland. That would have been emotional. Anything would have been better than making Spike a ninja that can move without detection in the middle of the day on a long bridge that heads directly towards the 24-hour manned gates. But that is all minor compared to the end of the film that takes quite the turn. In short, Spike gets caught at a dead end with many zombies rushing towards him. Spike is saved, I kid you not, by a bunch of tracksuit wearing Jimmy Saviles. Yes, Jimmy Savile, the dead sicko TV personality that worked with children. And that's all we can say about him on the YouTube, so if you want to know more, you'll have to go look him up.
Well, now then.
The Jimmy Savile gang, well, they all fight like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And my God, do you feel like you've been ripped out of one film and placed into another? What this ending all means is anyone's guess, so I'm guessing we're all going to have to go watch the next film. I did think, and I never usually think this, that this film would have been better as a streaming series. The tonal shifts would have worked better spreading them over different episodes, and the different story elements could have been given more time, like the introduction of the enlisted men, or the mother's sickness and assisted death. But even after all that, somehow, the 28 years later card house is still standing. Just. Even though it's tonally all over the place and unsatisfying as a story, I still think because of the visuals and performances, there is enough to recommend it. You just have to not think about it too much, or expect too much from the story. Just stay prepared for the Ninja Jimmy Savile gang.